No problem.
We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Councilman Bob Mendes with us. Nice to have him on.
Thanks.
And we've got the phones up and working, talking about some ideas. If you're just joining us, you say, should development tax dollars maybe go to school instead? A certain portion of that, not all of them, of course. He's got 3 bills. They're going before Metro Council. We're going to kind of look at the idea of this. Let's go to Charlie, I think, waited through the break. Charlie, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Good, Charlie. Good to hear from you. What's on your mind, my friend?
Nothing. I have been this thing on development tax go to school. It should do that. You support a school no matter who, where it's at or what they're doing with it. It should.
Yeah, you were more obvious. Are you saying, was he saying something about the tourists there? You were saying the tourist dollars?
No, I said I would take this money and put it into the schools.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's exactly what you're saying.
Well, you know, I just I hadn't noticed what the scroll is,
Yeah.
but I mean, just the way that's asked, should redevelopment tax dollars go to schools instead? I mean, that's flipped, right? I mean, the deal is that the tax dollars are supposed to be for schools,
Right.
and we should be asking how much should be spent on redevelopment.
Right.
And I mean,
But instead, we were asking that other question because so much money goes to redevelopment.
that, in a nutshell, is what's become sort of perverse about the argument. Like, we as a city have declared certain dollars to be redevelopment tax dollars and think about them that way. That's at the expense of teachers, roads, schools, fire. We should think about it as all the tax dollars are to pay for basic government functions, and how much are we going to put to redevelopment? You know, the basic social contract over the last generation has been, let's build all the shiny stuff downtown because it'll help us pay for the things we need to do.
Right. Okay, but
And that's obvious. I mean, objectively, that's broken right now.
Yeah.
We have the gleaming A+ shiny downtown that's booming with a gazillion tourists, and for some reason we cannot pay for the things that we need to do. Like, we need to tweak that.
I think that's what everyone thinks in any community. And, you know, I live out in Wilson County and Mount Juliet, the growth, and we talk about how tight things is. So many people just from the outside looking in see all the growth in the Gulch, and Nashville's just boom town, and you know, Mount Juliet's crazy boom town, and you keep thinking, well, that's got to be more tax dollars coming in and all this, and you're like, and yet the roads are still not expanded the way they should be,
Right.
and we need more schools. We're trying to figure out how to pay for this new high school over there off Lebanon Road. And
Right.
why is it then? Is it because of these kind of incentives that are given? I'm sure it's much more complex than just that.
I think it's a variety of things. We do have a historically low property tax rate right now,
Yeah.
the lowest one ever. You know, I think just kindergarten logic, things people would have learned from their parents, like, if I said to you, can I have international city with one of the best tourism industries ever, with everything looks shiny and new downtown, and the lowest tax rate that you can find in the history of the city, and an overall relatively low tax load compared to the state and the region, and everything will be perfect? I mean, intuitively, the answer is no. Something's got to give.
Right.
And what we've been sacrificing on is paying employees and infrastructure. One caller mentioned roads. We've got hundreds of millions of dollars of water and sewer upgrades that need to happen that we don't really have lined up. You know, we've got literally $3 billion worth of employee retirement health benefit obligation that we don't have funded. It's the very boring things with lots of zeros that are shortchanged while we make everything else A+.
I know. And those little boring things are things that really affect people's lives.
Right.
And it's kind of scary. I mean, it's overwhelming. When you just started saying that, and you said, it is overwhelming. And you wonder at what point the rubber maybe hits the road. The thing about the sewers and all this, I mean, we just talk about it, and everyone wants everything to work, and they don't want to pay for it. Everyone wants something for nothing, and that's a pet peeve of mine all along. No one wants to have any taxes at all, but they want everything.
Right.
Well, that's stupid, all right? You can't have everything without paying for it, okay? And that's fine if you want to limit it, but at what point do, as just one ugly example, do we have raw sewage rolling through the streets? Yeah, we're a ways from that, but I mean, I've heard folks going down beneath the city and looking around, and they're like, man, this is supporting what we have up here now? This is a problem. Do people understand that?
I mean, there's a heavy dose of out of sight, out of mind. You know, the places where we've got 100-plus-year-old stormwater sewers that are made of brick. You know, like, I mean, you don't see them. They're there, but you don't see them. You know, the $3 billion that we've got in an unfunded, got to pay for retirees' health insurance. You don't see that. I mean, on an audit this thick, it's 2/3 of the way through in small print. And unless you're crazy enough to be reading the audit, like, you won't stumble into it ever.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Raymond. Raymond, good morning. Hi, Raymond.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead,
Y'all
sir.
talk about, he's talking about the lowest tax rate around. Here's the thing it is about the tax rate. The tax rate can be low, and the property assessment, when your property values go up, your tax income coming in increases dramatically, regardless of what the tax rate is. So they're getting billions of dollars more in taxes and saying they're not because they hadn't raised the tax rate. When you raise the assessment, you do the same thing, if not more, when you if you raise the tax rate. So if they can say the tax rate has been this for years, that's a wash.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, people point that out, and Bob, you can comment on that. And right, the property tax rate doesn't increase, but as values of anything increase, you're paying more taxes on it, and that does bring more value into the city.
From 1983 till 2005, the city changed the tax rate. By change, I mean increase, every 3.5 years on average, like clockwork, and the city was properly funded during that time period. Since 2005, the tax rate has changed once, and that's an ingredient of the problem. We used to, I'm sure the caller knows, sound like he was up on the topic, the city through that early 80s to the 2005 range, every time there was the every 4-year value reassessment, there was a change to the tax rate also, so it happened at the same time, so people's tax amount changed once every 4 years. We've gotten out of sync with that, so instead of doing it administratively to get the income of the city set in the right spot, now we've made it a political football that makes it next to impossible to change the tax rate. And and compared to the other major cities in Tennessee, we're a couple dollars lower than each one of those cities on their tax rate, and that's just true. Chattanooga, Knoxville, Memphis are all combined city-county property tax rate a couple bucks higher than us, with Memphis being like $4 higher than us. And that's but back to the thing we're talking about. When you pour a bunch of gasoline on the It's City fire, it not only takes money out of the operating budget for schools and teachers like we've been talking about, but it increases everybody's property values, which is awesome if you're going to sell, terrible if you're on fixed income trying to pay your property taxes.
That's right.
And that's part of the, with more information about the real impact of these dollars, we could make a decision as a city whether we should still be dumping as much gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, I mean, that's a harsh reality for everyone. Maybe he's noticing this, but I mean, you're complaining about what you have to pay on taxes. The rate didn't increase. But would you rather have your property tax go down? Sure, well then your property value goes down. Many of those seniors who are on fixed incomes in homes that are in Green Hills that skyrocketed over, probably would love to see the value of their home go down because they don't plan on moving and selling it. Well, but the reason homes go down is because bad things happen usually.
The reality is, in 2 years ago when the tax, when the reassessments happened, I mean, half the people had their taxes go up, half the people had their taxes go down. I mean, there are a whole bunch of the people in the city whose property taxes went down with the last reassessment.
And that was because
they lived in a part of town that had less growth than average. And so that's either very undeveloped, like the more rural parts of the county, saw property taxes go down, and then very highly developed areas that already seen as much growth, like Green Hills is very highly developed, Belle Meade very highly developed. by and large, their property taxes went down. The places where they went up are all the hot development areas. You know, Germantown, East Nashville, 12 South, Cleveland Park, you know, over in East Nashville was the center of just like doubling property taxes. But in the raw numbers, there were half the people in the city had their property taxes go down.
Yeah, kind of remember that.
A lot of commercial property owners and developers had property taxes go down.
All right, listen, as we wrap things up, just got a minute or two. What's the status of this? I mean, obviously, it sounds like the study group will pass, but... The
study group will pass, and then, I mean, I'm optimistic about getting the schools part out of the development dollars, just because, first of all, I think it should be wildly popular with voters, and if the council listens to voters, it should happen. We're going to have to apply some pressure to MDHA to have them agree with it, but the reality is it's hard to argue with where we're at as a city right now that we need to swipe money from the school system for development loans.
Councilman Mendes, thanks for coming on. It was a wide-ranging discussion, as I thought we might have as well. But hopefully, we, you know, like you said, you got to educate the folks, and that's what a forum like this is. We have an hour. This is an hour. We just sat here and talked. Very nice job. I really appreciate you coming on. Take a break. Be back. Programming note right after this. Stay with us.